My husband took my daughters and told the court I was insane. I lost everything in 10 minutes. 2 years later, the hospital called. One of my daughters was dying. They needed me to save her. But when the doctor saw my DNA, she stopped and said, "This shouldn't be possible." Because the man who raised my kids is not their father. And the truth about my other daughter made me call the police. The judge didn't look at me when he made the decision. He looked at the file, at the report, at the words someone else had written about me, like I was a diagnosis, not a mother. "Based on the psychiatric evaluation," he said evenly, "the court grants full custody to Mr. Ethan Cole." Full custody. The words echoed in my head, but they didn't feel real. Not yet. "Your Honor," I said, my voice shaking despite everything I tried to do to control it, "that report isn't true. I never even met that doctor." "Ms. Rowan," he cut in, already done with me, "you've had your opportunity." No, I hadn't. Every time I tried to speak, Ethan's lawyer stood up first. Every time I reacted, it sounded emotional, unstable, exactly what they wanted. I turned to Ethan. He sat there in a dark suit, calm, composed, hands folded like this was just another business meeting, not the moment he was taking my children away. "Ethan, please," I whispered. "You know this isn't true." He didn't answer, didn't even look at me. "The court also orders," the judge continued, flipping a page, "that Ms. Rowan is to have no unsupervised contact with the children until further evaluation." My breath caught. No contact. "No," I said, louder now. "You can't do that. They're my daughters." A few people in the courtroom shifted. The judge didn't. "If you continue to interrupt, I will have you removed." Removed. Like I didn't belong there. Like I wasn't their mother. I felt something inside me crack. Not completely. Just enough to let the cold in. I sat down slowly, because I knew if I didn't, I might collapse. The rest of the hearing passed in fragments. Legal terms, conditions, dates, none of it mattered, because the only thing that mattered was already gone. I didn't get to say goodbye. That was the part that stayed with me. Not the ruling, not the humiliation. That. They were already in the hallway when I stepped out. Lily stood close to Ethan, holding his hand. Ruby was behind him, clutching her backpack, quiet like she always was when something felt wrong. They both looked at me. For a second, I thought they would run to me. Lily even leaned forward a little. "Mom," she said. I dropped to my knees instinctively. "Hey," I said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't belong on my face. "Hey, baby, I'm right here." She took a small step toward me. Then Ethan's hand rested on her shoulder. Not rough, not obvious, just enough. "Stay with me," he said softly. Lily stopped. Ruby didn't move at all. She just stared at me, her eyes searching like she was trying to understand something she didn't have the words for yet. "Are you coming home?" Lily asked. The question hit me harder than anything in that courtroom. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out, because I didn't know how to explain this. I didn't understand it myself. Ethan answered for me. "Not right now," he said calmly. "Mom needs some time to get better." Better. I shook my head immediately. "No, that's not true," I said, my voice breaking. "Lily, I'm okay. I'm fine. It's okay," he interrupted gently. "We talked about this." We, not me. I reached for them anyway. "Listen to me," I said, holding Lily's gaze. "I love you, okay? I love you so much. This isn't goodbye." Lily's eyes filled with tears. Ruby tightened her grip on her backpack. "Then why are you crying?" she asked quietly. I froze, because there was no answer that wouldn't scare her. Ethan stepped in again. "She's overwhelmed," he said. "That's why the judge made this decision, so everyone can be safe." Safe? From me. Something inside my chest twisted painfully. "No," I whispered. "That's not true." But it didn't matter. "Time to go," Ethan said. And just like that, It was over. He turned. They followed. Lily looked back once. Just once. Then they were gone. The apartment was too quiet that night. Not peaceful. Empty. The kind of silence that feels wrong. I walked past Lily's room first. Her stuffed animals were still lined up on the bed the way she liked them. Pink bear in the middle. Rabbit near the pillow. I stepped inside slowly. "Hey, baby," I whispered out of habit. The room didn't answer. Of course it didn't. I moved to Ruby's room. Everything was neat, organized, controlled. Just like her. Her books stacked, her pencils aligned, nothing out of place. I sat on her bed and picked up a notebook. Inside, she had drawn our family. Simple stick figures, but detailed. Me in the middle, Lily on one side, Ruby on the other, Ethan slightly off to the edge. I stared at it. Then I noticed something. There was an eraser mark, right where I was. Faint, but there, like she had tried to remove me, and stopped. My throat tightened. "I'm still here," I whispered. "I didn't leave you." But for the first time, I wasn't sure if that was enough, because the court had erased me, and something told me Ethan wasn't done yet. The silence didn't get easier. It changed. At first, it was loud. Every room echoed with things that weren't there. Footsteps, laughter, doors opening that never did. Then slowly, it settled into something worse. Absence. A quiet so complete it felt permanent. Days blurred together. I stopped checking the time because it didn't matter anymore. Morning, afternoon, night, they all felt the same when there was no one waiting for you. I still woke up early out of habit. 6:30. The time I used to make breakfast. Lily liked pancakes on weekdays if I had time. Ruby preferred toast, no crust. I would stand in the kitchen sometimes, staring at the counter, my hands resting on nothing, like I had forgotten what I was supposed to do next. Then it would hit me again. They weren't there. I tried to stay busy. Work helped, at least at first. I opened my laptop, pulled up projects, answered emails that didn't matter. Anything to keep my mind from going where it always wanted to go. But focus doesn't survive grief. I would read the same sentence 5 times and still not understand it. Design files sat unfinished. Deadlines passed. Clients stopped calling. Eventually, even pretending became too exhausting. The first time I sent a package, I chose everything carefully. Lily's favorite strawberry candies. A small nightlight shaped like a moon because she was still afraid of the dark. For Ruby, a sketchbook and a new set of colored pencils, the exact brand she liked. I wrapped it myself, wrote their names slowly, carefully, Lily, Ruby. I added a note, "I love you. I'm always thinking about you." I didn't explain anything. I didn't want to confuse them. I just wanted them to know I was still there. 3 days later, the box came back, unopened, the tape still sealed, my handwriting staring back at me like a mistake. I stood there in the hallway holding it, not moving, not breathing, like if I stayed still long enough, something would change. It didn't. I tried again. Birthdays, holidays, small things, books, clothes, letters, every single one came back the same way, unopened, untouched, erased. After the 5th package, I stopped opening them when they were returned. I already knew what was inside. Rejection. I started checking my phone more than I should have. Not for messages. For something worse. Nothing. No calls. No updates. No photos. It was like they had disappeared from the world. Like the last 8 years of my life had been quietly deleted, and everyone else just moved on. Sometimes I would scroll through old pictures just to remind myself they were real. Lily with syrup on her face, laughing. Ruby sitting on the floor, focused on a drawing, her tongue slightly out the way she always did when she concentrated. I would stare at those photos until my chest hurt. Then I would close my phone quickly, like I had touched something I wasn't allowed to have anymore. The hardest nights were the ones where I almost convinced myself to call. I had their numbers memorized. I didn't need my phone to remember. I would sit there, staring at the screen, my thumb hovering over the call button. What if they answered? What if they didn't? What if Ethan picked up? The thought alone made my stomach twist. I knew he would turn it into something. He always did. In the end, I never pressed call. Not because I didn't want to, because I was afraid. Afraid of making things worse. Afraid of confirming what I already felt, that I didn't belong in their lives anymore. Weeks turned into months. Months turned into something I stopped counting. I stopped expecting things, stopped hoping. It was easier that way, safer. You can't be disappointed if you don't expect anything. That's what I told myself. It wasn't true. The apartment changed. Or maybe I did. I stopped going into their rooms. At first, it felt like preserving something, like if I left everything untouched, they could come back and nothing would be different. But over time, it started to feel like a museum, a place frozen in a life that didn't exist anymore. One night, I stood outside Lily's door for a long time, just staring at it, my hand resting on the handle. I couldn't bring myself to open it because I knew what I would see, everything exactly the same, and somehow that made it worse. I turned away, left the door closed. The first time I heard someone say I needed to move on, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because I didn't understand what that meant. Move on from what? From being their mother? From loving them? From the part of me that still woke up every morning thinking about what they might be doing? People say things like that when they don't know what else to say, when they want to fix something that isn't fixable. I stopped explaining. It was easier to nod, to pretend, to let them believe I was getting better. But I wasn't. I was surviving. There's a difference. Surviving is quiet. It's breathing when you don't want to. It's getting through the day without breaking in a way people can see. It's learning how to carry something that never gets lighter. Some nights I would sit by the window and imagine them, what time they went to bed, if Lily still needed the nightlight, if Ruby still lined up her pencils before starting a drawing, if they still thought about me, or if, slowly, quietly, they were learning how to live without me. That thought was the one I couldn't stay with for too long, because if it was true, then everything I had been holding on to was already gone. I told myself one thing over and over, like a promise, like something I needed to believe to keep going. This isn't permanent. This isn't forever. I'll find a way back. I have to, because no matter what a judge says, no matter what Ethan tells them, I am still their mother. And somewhere deep down, I needed to believe they still knew that, even if the world was trying to convince them otherwise. I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. Not slowly, not gently, all at once. The call came at 7:12 a.m. I remember the exact time because I was already awake. I hadn't really slept, just drifted in and out of something that wasn't rest, staring at the ceiling until the light changed. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. Unknown number. For a second, I almost ignored it. I didn't answer numbers I didn't recognize anymore. There was never anything good on the other end, but something about this one, I don't know. I picked it up. Hello? Ms. Rowan? The voice was calm, professional, controlled. Yes. This is Dr. Elena Park from Children's Memorial Hospital. Everything inside me went still, not tense, not panicked. Still, like my body knew before my mind could catch up. I'm calling about your daughter to Lily. My fingers tightened around the phone. My daughter. No one had said those words to me in 2 years, not out loud, not like that. What happened? I asked. My voice sounded steady. I didn't feel steady. She was admitted early this morning, the doctor continued. Her white blood cell count is critically low. I didn't understand the number she said after that. I didn't need to. We suspect acute leukemia. The word hit differently. It didn't feel real. It didn't even feel like it belonged in the same world as Lily. My Lily. The girl who cried if a cartoon character got hurt. The girl who still slept with a nightlight. Are you sure? I whispered. We're running additional tests, but the indicators are strong. We need to act quickly. I swallowed hard. How long? How long has she been sick? There was a pause. Not long, but long enough. She's been showing symptoms for several weeks. Weeks. The word echoed in my head. Weeks. She had fatigue, bruising, frequent nosebleeds, Dr. Park continued carefully. According to her father, they thought it was a virus. I closed my eyes. He knew something was wrong. He waited. My hand started to shake. I pressed it harder against the phone to stop it. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "She may require a bone marrow transplant," the doctor said. "We need to test you as a potential donor as soon as possible." I was already standing, already moving. "I'm in Austin," I said quickly. "I can be there in a few hours." "Good," she replied. "Ask for me when you arrive." There was a small pause, then her voice softened, just slightly. "I'm aware of the custody situation," she said, "but right now, your daughter needs you." My throat tightened. "I'm coming," I said. I didn't wait for anything else. I hung up. For a moment, I just stood there. In the middle of the apartment, phone still in my hand. Everything felt too quiet again, but different this time. Heavier. Then it hit me. All at once. Leukemia. Hospital. Weeks. And the one thought that cut through everything else. I wasn't there. I didn't see it. I didn't catch it. I wasn't there to take her to the doctor. I wasn't there to notice the bruises. I wasn't there. A wave of guilt hit so hard I had to grab the edge of the table to steady myself. "No," I whispered under my breath. "No, no, no!" This wasn't my fault. It couldn't be. But it felt like it. Because that's what happens when you're a mother. You take responsibility even when you weren't given the chance. I moved fast after that. Too fast. Grabbing my keys, my bag, forgetting things, going back for them. My hands wouldn't stay steady. I dropped my phone twice before I managed to get out the door. The hallway felt longer than usual, the elevator slower. Every second stretched. By the time I got to my car, my chest felt tight, like I couldn't get enough air in. "Okay," I said out loud, gripping the steering wheel. "Okay, just drive." I started the engine, pulled out, and didn't look back. The highway blurred, gray asphalt stretching endlessly in front of me, cars passing, trees lining the road. I don't remember most of it, just flashes, my hands gripping the wheel too tight, my foot pressing harder on the gas than I should have, and my mind looping the same thoughts over and over. Lily in a hospital bed, Lily scared, Lily asking for me, and me not being there. At some point, anger pushed through the fear, sharp, clear, focused. Weeks. He waited weeks. How do you look at your child, see something is wrong, and do nothing? How? I felt it rising in my chest, hot and uncontrollable, but there was nowhere for it to go, so it just sat there, burning. Then another thought followed, quieter, more dangerous. Did she ask for me? Did she say my name? Did she still remember me? Or had 2 years been enough to erase me completely? I tightened my grip on the wheel. "No," I said under my breath. "She remembers. She has to." The closer I got, the harder it became to breathe. Not because of the drive, because of what was waiting at the end of it. I hadn't seen her in 728 days. I knew that number without trying. Every day had been counted. And now, I was about to see her again. But not the way I imagined. Not running toward me. Not smiling. A hospital. A diagnosis. A word that didn't belong to a 10-year-old. Leukemia. I swallowed hard. "Just hold on," I whispered, even though she couldn't hear me. "I'm coming." By the time the hospital came into view, my hands were shaking again. The building stood tall and cold, glass reflecting the gray sky. I parked without really thinking, grabbed my bag, got out. For a second, I just stood there, looking at the entrance, knowing that once I walked through those doors, everything would be different, again. I took a breath. It didn't help. Then I started walking, fast. Faster than I meant to. Like if I slowed down, I might lose the courage to go in. Automatic doors slid open. Cold air hit my face. The smell of antiseptic filled my lungs. And just like that, I was back in their world. After 2 years of being erased, a nurse at the front desk looked up. "Can I help you?" "Yes," I said, my voice tight. "I'm here for Lily Rowan. Dr. Elena Park asked for me." The nurse's expression shifted immediately. Recognition. Concern. "Go up to the 4th floor," she said. "Pediatric oncology. She's expecting you." I nodded. Didn't trust myself to say anything else. The elevator ride felt endless, numbers ticking up too slowly. My reflection in the metal doors looked unfamiliar, pale, tired, older, like 2 years had taken more than just time. The doors opened, and everything inside me tightened, because I knew, just a few steps away, was my daughter. I didn't know what I would find when I walked into that room. I didn't know if she would recognize me, if she would want me there, if I was already too late. But one thing was clear. Whatever Ethan had done, whatever lies he had told, none of it mattered anymore, because this time, I wasn't staying away. Dr. Elena Park was waiting for me at the nurse's station. She looked exactly like her voice sounded. Calm, focused, the kind of person who had seen everything and learned how not to show it. "Ms. Rowan?" she asked. I nodded. "Yes." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Thank you for coming so quickly." "I should have been here sooner," I said automatically. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Something flickered in her expression. Not judgment. Understanding. "This isn't your fault," she said gently. I didn't respond, because I didn't believe her. "Before you see her," Dr. Park continued, "I need to prepare you." My chest tightened. "Prepare me how?" "She's very weak," she said. "And it's been a long time." I swallowed. "I know." But I didn't. Not really. Not until she led me down the hallway. The pediatric oncology floor was too bright. Walls painted with animals and cartoon clouds. Colors meant to comfort. But all I could see were the doors, closed, each one hiding something fragile, something fighting to stay alive. Dr. Park stopped in front of one of them, room 314. "She's awake," she said softly. "But she may be confused." Confused? I nodded, even though my body had already gone rigid. "Can I go in?" She hesitated for half a second, then stepped aside. I pushed the door open. The room felt smaller than it should have. Too quiet, too still. And then I saw her, Lily, lying in the hospital bed. And for a moment, I didn't recognize her. She looked smaller, thinner, her skin pale, almost translucent under the light. Dark bruises marked her arms where the IV lines had been placed. Her hair, my hair, cut short and uneven, like someone had done it quickly, without care. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. This wasn't how she was supposed to look. This wasn't my Lily. She turned her head slowly. Her eyes found mine, and I saw it. Fear. "Hey," I said softly, stepping inside. My voice felt too loud in the silence. "It's okay, I'm not going to hurt you." She stared at me, studying my face like I was a stranger, because to her, I was. "Who are you?" she whispered. The words broke something inside me. Not all at once, but enough. I took another step closer, slow, careful, like approaching something fragile. "My name is—" I stopped. The word caught in my throat. "Mom." I couldn't say it, not when she didn't know me. "My name is Ava," I said instead, my voice barely holding together. "I'm here to help you." She kept staring, her small fingers tightening around the blanket. Then, quietly, "Mom?" I froze. The room disappeared. Everything except that one word. "Yes," I whispered, the tears coming before I could stop them. "Yeah, baby. It's me." Her eyes filled with something I couldn't fully read. Confusion, recognition, and something else. Something that didn't belong there. "Daddy said you left," she said. The words landed harder than anything else. "He said you didn't want us anymore." My breath caught. For a second, I couldn't speak. All the anger, all the pain, all the things I wanted to say, they stayed locked inside. Because she didn't need that. Not right now. I moved closer and sat down beside her bed. Slowly, carefully, Like if I moved too fast, she might disappear. I never left you, I said softly, taking her hand. It felt cold, too cold. I've been trying to come back every single day. She didn't pull away, but she didn't hold on either. Just stayed there, between believing and not. A soft knock broke the moment. Dr. Park stood in the doorway. Her expression had changed, tighter, more alert. "Miss Rowan," she said quietly, "can I speak with you for a moment?" I didn't want to leave, not even for a second, but something in her voice told me this wasn't optional. "I'll be right back," I said to Lily. She didn't answer. I stood up slowly and stepped into the hallway. Dr. Park closed the door behind us. "He's here," she said. I didn't need to ask who. Ethan, of course. "Where?" I asked. "In the waiting area," she replied. "He brought your other daughter with him." Ruby, the name hit me like something sharp. "She's here?" I whispered. Dr. Park nodded. "Yes, but before you see them, there's something you need to understand." My stomach tightened. "What?" "We need to run compatibility tests on all potential donors immediately," she said. "That includes you, mister. Cole, and ideally your younger daughter." "Ruby." I nodded slowly. "Okay." But my mind was already somewhere else, down the hall in another room where my other child was, the one I hadn't seen in 2 years. "Can I see her?" I asked. Dr. Park hesitated. "For a moment," she said, "but you need to be prepared. She may not react the way you hope." I let out a breath that didn't feel like enough. I understand. But I didn't. Not yet. The waiting area felt colder than the rest of the hospital, or maybe it was just him. Ethan stood near the window, his back straight, his posture controlled, like nothing had changed, like this was just another day. Ruby sat beside him, smaller than I remembered, too still, too quiet. My chest tightened. "Ruby," I said softly. She looked up. Our eyes met. And for a second, I saw it. Recognition. Then it was gone, replaced by something guarded, something careful. "Hi," she said. Just that. Not Mom. Not anything else. Just, "Hi." I took a step closer. "I missed you," I said. Her fingers tightened in her lap. She glanced at Ethan, just for a second, like she needed permission. He didn't say anything, just watched. Always watching. "Dad said you were sick," Ruby said quietly. The words felt familiar, scripted, like something she had been told more than once. "I'm not sick," I said gently. "I never was." She didn't answer, just looked down, and that's when I noticed it. Her wrists, too thin, her face, paler than it should be. Something wasn't right. A cold feeling crept up my spine. Before I could say anything, "What are you doing here?" Ethan's voice cut through everything. Cold, sharp, controlled. I turned to face him. "I'm here for my daughter," I said. "Our daughter." His eyes narrowed slightly. "You're not supposed to be within 500 feet of them." "Medical emergency," I replied. "That rule doesn't apply." For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Dr. Park stepped in. "She's correct," she said firmly. "We need to test all biological parents. Time is critical." Ethan's jaw tightened. He looked at me, then at the hallway behind me, then back. And when he spoke, his voice was calm, too calm. "Fine," he said. "We'll do the tests." He paused, just long enough, then added, "But if I'm the one who saves her?" His eyes locked onto mine. "I want full custody, permanently." The words hit like a warning, not a request, a threat. And suddenly, I understood something I hadn't before. This wasn't just about Lily. This was something else, something deeper, something darker. And whatever it wasn't over yet. The lab was colder than the rest of the hospital, not just the temperature. Everything felt sharper. brighter, too clean, like there was no room for emotion in a place like this. Only facts, only results, only truth. I sat in a narrow chair, my sleeve rolled up, watching the nurse prepare the needle. "Just a quick draw," she said gently. "It won't take long." I nodded. I barely felt it when the needle went in. A small sting, nothing compared to everything else. Across the room, Ethan stood with his back straight, his expression unreadable as another nurse prepared his sample. Ruby sat beside him, quiet, too quiet. Her feet didn't touch the ground, swinging slightly above the floor. She wasn't looking at me. She wasn't looking at anything, just down. "Hey," I said softly, leaning forward a little. "It's okay. It'll be quick." She glanced up for half a second, then looked back at Ethan. Always him, waiting, measuring. "Hold still," he said calmly. She did, immediately. Something about that bothered me more than it should have. The process was fast. Vials labeled, samples taken, everything efficient, clinical. Like none of this was about a 10-year-old fighting for her life. Like none of this was about a family that had already been broken once. "Results should be ready within a couple of hours," Dr. Park said. A couple of hours. It sounded simple. It wasn't. Waiting is different when something is at stake. Time doesn't move normally. It stretches, pulls. Every second feels heavier than the last. I sat in the hospital cafeteria with a cup of coffee I couldn't drink. It had gone cold minutes after I got it. I hadn't noticed. My phone buzzed once on the table. I didn't look at it. Nothing mattered except one thing. Lily. I could still see her face. Pale, fragile, looking at me like she wanted to believe but didn't know how. I closed my eyes for a moment, just one, and all I could hear was her voice. "Daddy said you left." My hand tightened around the cup. "He lied," I whispered under my breath. Not loud enough for anyone to hear, just enough to say it out loud, to make it real. "You always did talk to yourself when you were stressed." I looked up. Ethan stood across from me, hands in his pockets, composed. Like this was nothing. I didn't respond, didn't trust myself to. He pulled out the chair across from me and sat down without asking. "I didn't expect you to show up so fast," he said. "She's my daughter." He tilted his head slightly. "Is she?" The words landed softly, but they cut deep. "What is that supposed to mean?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just watched me, like he was studying something. Then, "Nothing," he said lightly. "Just interesting how things work out." Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. "What did you do?" I asked quietly. His expression didn't change. "I took care of my children," he said. "Something you couldn't do." "That's not true. Isn't it?" His voice stayed calm, controlled, like always. "She's been sick for weeks," I said, leaning forward slightly. "You didn't take her to a doctor." His jaw tightened, just a fraction. "She had a virus." "You thought she had a virus," I corrected. "You guessed. And you were wrong." For a second, something flickered in his eyes. Annoyance. Then it was gone. "You don't get to judge me," he said quietly. "You lost that right." I felt anger rise in my chest, hot, sharp, but I forced it down, because this wasn't about him, not right now. "Where's Ruby been?" I asked instead. That caught him off guard, just for a second. "What do you mean?" "She looks..." I hesitated. "Careful, too careful." "Different." His eyes hardened slightly. "She's fine." No hesitation, no concern, just a statement. Final. I leaned back slowly. Something wasn't right. I could feel it, but I didn't have proof. Not yet. The hours passed slowly, too slowly. Every sound made me look up. Every movement in the hallway made my chest tighten. Until finally, "Ms. Rowan?" Dr. Park stood at the entrance of the cafeteria. Her face was serious, controlled, but something in her eyes had changed. "We have the results." My heart skipped. I stood up immediately. Ethan followed. Neither of us spoke as we walked back down the hallway. the same hallway, but everything felt different now, heavier, like something was about to break. Dr. Park led us into a small consultation room, closed the door behind us. The air inside felt still, too still. She held a tablet in her hands. Her eyes moved between us for a moment, then settled. "Let's start with the basics," she said. Her voice was calm, professional, but careful. Bone marrow compatibility depends on genetic markers. Typically, a parent has about a 50% chance of being a match. I nodded. I already knew that, or at least, I thought I did. She looked at me first. "Ms. Rowan, you are not a match." The words hit. Hard, fast, final. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Not a match. I wasn't the one who could save her. I swallowed hard. "Okay," I said quietly. "What about him?" Dr. Park turned to Ethan. "Mr. Cole, you are not a match either." Silence. Heavy. Complete. Ethan frowned. "That's not possible," he said. "I'm her father." "Biology doesn't guarantee compatibility," Dr. Park replied evenly. My heart was still racing. "Then Ruby," I said quickly. "Test Ruby." Dr. Park didn't answer right away. That was the moment everything shifted. That pause, that hesitation. It was small, barely noticeable, but I felt it. Something was wrong. "What?" I asked. She looked down at the tablet, then back at us. "Ruby is a partial match," she said slowly. "About 50%, which is expected between siblings." Relief hit me for a second, then disappeared just as fast, because she wasn't finished. "However," she continued. Ethan's expression tightened. "What?" Dr. Park took a breath, carefully, like she was choosing her words. "There's an inconsistency in her genetic profile." The room went silent. "What does that mean?" Ethan asked. Her eyes moved to me. Not him, me. "It means," she said slowly, "her DNA doesn't align the way we would expect based on your profile." My heart started pounding again, louder this time, faster. I didn't understand, but I knew. This wasn't normal. "I need to run a second test," Dr. Park continued. "A more comprehensive analysis." Ethan let out a short breath, annoyed, impatient. "Then run it," he said. She nodded. "I already have." Another pause, another shift, and then, "The results will be ready by tomorrow morning." Tomorrow. It felt too far away, too long, too uncertain. I looked at her. "Just tell me one thing," I said quietly. She met my eyes. "What kind of inconsistency?" She hesitated, just for a second, then said, "The kind that shouldn't happen." That night I couldn't sleep, not in the hospital chair, not anywhere. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily. Then I saw Ruby. Too thin, too quiet. And now, something wrong with her DNA. I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense, until one thought pushed through everything else. Clear, sharp, unavoidable. What if this wasn't an accident? What if something had been hidden all along? By morning, I knew one thing for sure. Whatever Dr. Park was about to tell us was going to change everything. I didn't sleep. Not really. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw numbers I didn't understand, and the look on Dr. Park's face when she said inconsistency. Morning came too slowly, gray light slipping through the hospital blinds, machines beeping in steady rhythms. Lily was still asleep. Her breathing shallow but even. I sat beside her bed, watching her chest rise and fall, counting each breath like it mattered, because it did. I reached out and brushed a strand of hair from her forehead. "You're going to be okay," I whispered. I didn't know if it was true, but I needed to say it. For her. For me. A soft knock. I turned. Dr. Park stood in the doorway. No clipboard this time, no tablet, just her, and that was enough to make my stomach drop. "Ms. Rowan," she said quietly, "can we talk?" My heart started racing. "Now?" She nodded. Yes, it's important. I looked back at Lily, then stood. My legs felt unsteady, but I forced them to move. Dr. Park led me down the hallway, past the nurse's station, into a smaller room. Private. Closed door. No distractions. That was never a good sign. Please sit, she said. I didn't. I'm fine, I replied. I wasn't, but I didn't want to feel small, not right now. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. All right. A pause. Then, we ran an extended genetic panel last night. I held my breath. And? She took a slow breath, like she had done this before, like she knew exactly how this moment felt. The results confirm that you are the biological mother of both girls. Relief hit me first. Quick, sharp. Of course I was. I knew that. But hearing it made something inside me steady. Okay, I said. And Ethan? That's when everything changed. Dr. Park's expression shifted. Just slightly, but enough. He is not their biological father. The words didn't make sense. Not at first. I blinked. What? There is no genetic match between Mr. Cole and either child, she said calmly. No. I shook my head immediately. That's not possible. But even as I said it, something inside me hesitated, because for the first time, something felt like it fit. No. I pushed it away. That test is wrong, I said quickly. It has to be. Dr. Park didn't react, didn't argue, just watched me. We ran it twice, she said, and confirmed it using 2 separate methods. My chest tightened. No, I whispered. My mind started racing, backwards. Years, moments, memories, trying to find something, anything that made this make sense. We're not done, she said gently, and somehow that felt worse. There's more? She nodded. Yes. I didn't want to hear it, but I needed to. Tell me. Dr. Park took another breath. Measured. Careful. Lily and Ruby are fraternal twins, she said, which means they developed from 2 separate eggs. I nodded slowly. I knew that. They were fertilized by 2 different men. The room went completely silent. I felt it. Everything inside me just stopped. That's not possible, I said, but my voice sounded distant, like it wasn't mine. It's rare, she replied, but it does happen. It's called heteropaternal superfecundation. The word meant nothing, but the meaning, that landed. You're saying, I swallowed hard. They have different fathers? Yes. The answer was immediate, certain. Final. I took a step back, my hand reaching for the chair behind me, gripping it to stay upright. My mind went straight to one place, one moment, a memory I hadn't touched in years, because I didn't need to, because I thought it didn't matter. Now it did. 10 years ago, I whispered. Dr. Park didn't interrupt, didn't rush me. I closed my eyes, and it all came back. The fight, the distance. The night I told Ethan I wasn't sure about us, and the next night, I made a mistake. One night, one decision. I had buried it, locked it away, because I believed it didn't change anything. I was wrong. I know who it is, I said quietly. Dr. Park nodded. Can you contact him? My hands were shaking now, not from fear, from everything crashing together at once. I haven't spoken to him in years. That doesn't change the situation, she said gently. If he's Lily's biological father, he may be a compatible donor. I let out a slow breath, trying to steady myself. What about Ruby? Dr. Park's expression shifted again, more serious this time. We'll come back to Ruby, she said. Something about the way she said that made my stomach drop again. But I couldn't focus on that yet, not when everything else was already breaking apart. I need to call him, I said. Dr. Park nodded. I'll give you some time. She moved toward the door, then paused. And Ms. Rowan, I looked up. This isn't your fault. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, because I didn't know how to believe that. I walked out into the hallway in a daze. People moved around me. Nurses, doctors, voices. None of it felt real. I found an empty corner near the window, pulled out my phone. My hands trembled as I scrolled through my contacts. I never deleted his number. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Now it meant everything. I stared at his name for a long time, my thumb hovering over the call button. What was I supposed to say? Hi, you might have a daughter. She's dying. Can you help? It sounded insane. It felt insane. But it was real. I pressed call. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Then, hello? His voice, the same, just older, calmer. My throat tightened. Noah? A pause. Then, Ava? I closed my eyes. It's me. Another pause. Longer this time. Are you okay? The question hit me unexpectedly. Simple. Genuine. I swallowed hard. No, I said honestly. I'm not. Silence. Then, tell me what's wrong. And just like that, everything changed again. Because for the first time in 2 years, someone was actually listening. By the time I ended the call, my world was no longer the same. Not just because of what I had learned, but because of what was coming next. Noah was on his way, and when he got here, the truth wouldn't be hidden anymore. Not from me, not from Ethan, not from anyone. I thought that was the biggest shock. I was wrong, because I still didn't know what was really happening to Ruby. Noah arrived just before noon. I saw him before he saw me. Standing at the entrance of the hospital lobby, scanning the room like he wasn't sure what he was walking into. 11 years, and somehow I recognized him instantly. The same posture, the same quiet way of looking at things, like he was always trying to understand before reacting. Just older, more lines in his face, a little more weight in the way he carried himself, but still him. I stood up slowly. For a second I thought about walking away, because everything, felt too unreal, too much, but I didn't. I couldn't. Noah. He turned immediately. Our eyes met, and in that moment, time didn't rewind. It just acknowledged what had been left unfinished. Ava, he said. My name sounded different in his voice, softer, like it used to. We stood there for a second, neither of us moving. Then he walked toward me. Are you okay? He asked again. Up close, I could see it clearly now. Concern. Not curiosity, not judgment. Concern. That almost broke me. I don't have time to not be okay, I said quietly. His expression tightened slightly. That bad? I nodded. Worse. I gestured toward the elevators. Come with me. We didn't talk much on the way up. I didn't know where to start. There was no version of this conversation that sounded normal, no gentle way to say it. So when we stepped into a quiet hallway outside Lily's room, I just told him everything. The diagnosis, the tests, the DNA results. The words still felt unreal even as I said them out loud. They said, "She might be your daughter." The silence that followed was heavy, not empty, processing. Noah didn't react the way I expected. No shock, no anger, just stillness, like he was absorbing every piece before letting it settle. You're sure? He asked. They ran the tests twice. He nodded slowly, then looked at the floor for a moment, running a hand through his hair. That night, he said quietly. I closed my eyes for a second. Yeah. Another pause. Then he looked up at me again. Where is she? No hesitation, no doubt, just that. Where is she? My throat tightened. Right here. I gestured toward the door. She's weak, and she doesn't fully remember me. His jaw tightened slightly, but he didn't say anything, just nodded. Okay. When we walked into the room, Lily was awake. She looked over immediately. Her eyes moved from me to Noah. Curious, careful. Hi, Noah said gently, stopping a few steps away from the bed. He didn't get too close, didn't assume anything, just stood there. My name is Noah. Lily studied him. "Do I know you?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Not yet." Something in her expression softened just a little. Children always knew, not the truth, but the feeling. I watched them in silence, my chest tight, because for the first time then, something felt different. Not broken, not forced, just possible. An hour later, Noah was in the lab, sleeves rolled up, sitting in the same chair I had been in the day before, the same needle, the same vials, but everything felt different now, because this time, there was something we hadn't had before. Hope. I stood outside the room, watching through the glass, my hands clasped tightly together, trying not to think too far ahead, trying not to imagine the outcome, because I had learned what happens when you do that. Noah didn't flinch when the needle went in, didn't look away, just stayed still, focused, like this was already decided for him, like there was no version of this where he walked away. The waiting was worse this time, because now there was something to lose. I sat in the hallway, my back against the wall, staring at nothing. Time moved too slow, every second stretching longer than it should, until finally, Ava. I looked up. Dr. Park stood in front of me, her expression unreadable. My heart started racing immediately. "Tell me," I said, standing too quickly. For a second, the room tilted. I grabbed the wall to steady myself. She didn't waste time. "We have the results." My chest tightened. "And?" She looked at Noah first, then at me, then said, "He's a match." The words hit like air rushing back into my lungs. Sharp, overwhelming. I didn't realize I had stopped breathing until that moment. "A match?" I repeated. She nodded. 50% compatibility, that's consistent with a biological parent. My vision blurred, not from confusion, from relief. "He can help her," I whispered. "Yes," Dr. Park said. "We can proceed with the transplant." I turned to Noah. He was already looking at me. No hesitation, no doubt. "I'll do it," he said. Like it was the simplest thing in the world, like there was no other option. My throat tightened. "You don't have to." "I know," he said gently. "But I want to." He looked past me, through the glass, toward Lily's room, and something changed in his expression. Not shock, not confusion, recognition. "She's my daughter," he said quietly. And just like that, it became real. Later that evening, I stood outside Lily's room, watching them. Noah sat beside her bed, reading something softly. Lily listened, calm, safe, something I hadn't seen in her since I arrived. I leaned against the wall, my chest tight, because for the first time in 2 years, she didn't look afraid. And for the first time in 2 years, I wasn't alone. But that feeling didn't last, because across the hall, another door opened, and I caught a glimpse of Ruby, sitting alone, too still, too quiet, and something deep in my chest told me this wasn't over, not even close. I couldn't stop looking at Ruby, even when I tried, even when I told myself to focus on Lily, on the transplant, on the one thing that mattered most right now. My eyes kept drifting back to that room across the hall. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, shoulders slightly hunched, hands folded tightly in her lap, too still. Children don't sit like that, not unless they've learned to. I watched her for a long moment, then I pushed myself off the wall and walked over, slowly, carefully, like I was afraid of scaring her. "Hey," I said softly as I stepped into the doorway. She looked up. Her expression didn't change much, just a small shift. Recognition. Caution. "Hi," she said, the same word as before. No warmth, no distance either, just neutral. I stepped inside. "You mind if I sit?" I asked. She shook her head. I pulled the chair closer and sat down across from her. Up close, it was worse. Her face looked thinner than I remembered. Not just different, wrong. "How are you feeling?" I asked gently. She shrugged. "I'm fine." The answer came too fast, too automatic, like something she had said before, many times. I nodded slowly. Okay. A pause settled between us, not uncomfortable, but fragile. I didn't want to push too hard, didn't want to lose whatever small space I had just stepped into. You've grown, I said after a moment. That earned the smallest reaction. Her eyes flicked up to mine, then away again. Dad says I need to eat more, she said quietly. The words caught me off guard. Not what she said, how she said it. Like it wasn't really her voice, like it belonged to someone else. I leaned forward slightly. Do you want to? She hesitated, just for a second. Then, I'm not really hungry most of the time. My chest tightened. That happens sometimes, I said carefully. But your body still needs fuel, especially right now. She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't really listening. Or maybe she was, just not believing. I looked down at her hands. Her fingers were thin, too thin, and that cold feeling from before came back, stronger this time. Ruby, I said softly. She looked up again. Yes? I held her gaze. Has anything been hurting? Your stomach, your head, anything like that? She shook her head. No. Another quick answer. Too quick. Are you sure? Yes. Silence again. Then, Dad says I'm just small, she added. There it was again. That same tone. Like she was repeating something she'd been told, not something she felt. I sat back slowly, trying to keep my expression calm, even as everything inside me started to shift, because now I knew for sure something wasn't right. Ms. Rowan? I turned. Dr. Park stood in the doorway. Can I speak with you? I nodded immediately. Yeah. I stood up and followed her out into the hallway. My heart was already beating faster. I didn't know why. I just knew. What is it? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she led me into another consultation room, closed the door behind us, and that was enough. My stomach dropped. What's wrong? I asked again. Dr. Park faced me, her expression serious. More serious than before. We ran a full medical screening on Ruby, she said. I felt it, that shift, that drop in my chest. And? She held my gaze. Ruby is not eligible to donate. The words hit hard. Why? I asked immediately. You said she was a match. She is, Dr. Park replied. Genetically. Then what's the problem? A pause. Then, her body can't handle the procedure. Everything inside me went still. What do you mean? Dr. Park picked up a tablet and turned it toward me. Numbers, charts, medical terms. I didn't understand most of it, but I didn't need to. She weighs 27 kilograms, Dr. Park said. For a child her age, that's significantly below the minimum requirement. My throat tightened. Okay. Her hemoglobin levels are low, she continued. Her vitamin levels are deficient, and her heart rate has been elevated since admission. Each word landed heavier than the last. What are you saying? I asked quietly. Dr. Park met my eyes. I'm saying this isn't temporary. My chest tightened. This is chronic. A cold wave moved through me, slow, unavoidable. No, I whispered, but it didn't sound like denial. It sounded like fear. She's not just underweight, Dr. Park said carefully. Then she paused, just long enough, before finishing. She's malnourished. The word hit harder than anything else. Malnourished. Not sick, not picky, not small. Malnourished. How long? I asked, my voice barely steady. Based on her condition, this has been developing for at least a year. A year. My mind couldn't process it, couldn't hold it. That's not possible, I said. But it was. I had seen it. Her wrists, her face, the way she sat, the way she spoke. She's been under her father's care the entire time, Dr. Park said gently. And just like that, everything snapped into place. All the small things, all the things that felt off, all the things I tried not to see. They weren't small, they weren't random, they were signs, and I had just missed them. No. I shook my head slowly, but now it wasn't denial. It was something else, something rising, something sharp, something dangerous. What else? I asked. Dr. Park hesitated. Then, "We've also observed behavioral indicators," she said. "Withdrawal, anxiety, hypercompliance." I felt my hands clench. "Meaning?" "Meaning she's learned to be careful," Dr. Park said. Careful. The word echoed in my head, and suddenly I saw it. The way Ruby looked at Ethan before answering, the way she chose her words, the way she didn't move unless she had to, the way she said, "Dad says." My chest tightened painfully. "What are you telling me?" I asked. Dr. Park didn't look away. "I'm telling you we have serious concerns about her home environment." Silence. Heavy, complete. Because there was only one way to say it. Only one word that fit. I said it anyway, even though I didn't want to hear it out loud. "Abuse?" Dr. Park didn't answer. She didn't need to. The look in her eyes was enough. I walked out of that room slowly, like the ground beneath me had changed, like everything I thought I understood was wrong. Across the hall, Ruby was still sitting there, exactly the same. Small, quiet, careful. And suddenly, I didn't just see my daughter. I saw a child who had been surviving, not living, surviving. For how long? A year? 2? The thought made something inside me snap, not loudly, not visibly, but completely. Because whatever Ethan had done, whatever lies he had told, this was something else. And I knew, right then, I wasn't going to let it continue. Not anymore. I didn't go back to Lily's room, not right away, because if I saw her, if I let myself feel that relief again, that fragile sense of hope, I might lose the anger I needed. And right now, I needed it. I stood in the hallway, staring at the floor, trying to steady my breathing. Malnourished. The word kept repeating in my head. Not sick, not weak, not unlucky. Malnourished. That meant something had been taken from her, not by accident, not by chance, by someone. My hands curled into fists. There was only one person it could be. I found him exactly where I expected, near the window at the end of the hall. Same posture, same calm expression, like nothing in this building could touch him, like nothing had already gone too far. "Ethan," he turned slowly, no surprise, no concern. Just that same controlled look. "You shouldn't be here," he said. I let out a short breath, almost a laugh. "You don't get to say that anymore." His eyes narrowed slightly. "What do you want?" I stepped closer, not fast, not aggressive, but direct. I just spoke to Dr. Park. Something flickered across his face, gone almost instantly, but I saw it. "You should be focusing on Lily," he said. "Not creating more problems." "She's malnourished." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. The words were enough. They landed between us. Heavy, unavoidable. Ethan didn't react. Not the way a normal person would. No shock, no confusion, no anger, just stillness. Then, "She's a picky eater," he said calmly. The simplicity of it hit harder than anything else. "A picky eater?" I repeated. "Yes." I stared at him, waiting for something, anything. Remorse, concern, a crack. There was nothing. "Her weight is dangerously low," I said. "Her blood levels are unstable. She's been like this for months." "She doesn't like food," he interrupted. Like that explained everything. Like that made it normal. My chest tightened. "No," I said, shaking my head slowly. "Kids don't just starve themselves for a year." "She's fine," he said again. The same tone, flat, final. That was the moment something shifted. Not in him, in me, because I realized he wasn't denying it. He wasn't even trying to explain it. He just didn't care. Why? I asked. The word came out quieter than I expected, but heavier, more dangerous. His gaze met mine, cold. What are you talking about? Why is she like this? I asked, stepping closer. Why is my daughter malnourished? Your daughter? He repeated, a faint edge entering his voice now. You seem very selective about when you claim that. I felt the anger rise again, hot, sharp. But this time, I didn't push it down. Don't do that, I said. Why? Do what? Twist this into something it's not. He let out a slow breath, like he was the one being inconvenienced. I raised them for 2 years, he said, alone, while you disappeared. I didn't disappear, I shot back. You made sure I couldn't reach them. You didn't try hard enough. The words hit, because part of me, a small, broken part, had asked myself that same question. Every night, every time a package came back unopened, but hearing it from him twisted it into something else. You kept them from me, I said. You lied to them. I protected them. From what? I demanded. He didn't answer, just looked at me, and that silence, that refusal, said more than anything else. She's afraid of you. The words came out before I could stop them. His expression didn't change. She's careful around you, I continued. She looks at you before she answers. She doesn't speak unless she has to. That's called discipline. No, I said firmly. That's called fear. For the first time, his jaw tightened, just slightly. You don't know what you're talking about. I know what I saw. And what you saw, he said calmly, was a child who respects her father. I stared at him, trying to understand how someone could say that, believe that, or worse, pretend to. She's starving, I said, and you're overreacting. That was it. That was the moment, the line, because I realized something I hadn't fully accepted until now. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't neglect. This wasn't something that could be fixed with a conversation. This was a choice, his choice. And he would make it again. Dr. Park is reporting this, I said. The words came out steady, clear. Child Protective Services will be involved. For the first time, he reacted. Not with fear, not with panic, but with something colder, calculation. They'll find nothing, he said. They already have. They have suspicions, he corrected. That's not evidence. I held his gaze. They have her medical records. They have numbers, he said. Numbers can be explained. How? I asked. He didn't answer, just smiled slightly. And that scared me more than anything else, because it meant he had already thought about it, planned for it, prepared. You think you can fix this, he said. Not a question, a statement. You think showing up now changes anything. I didn't respond. Because this time, I didn't need to convince him. I just needed to stop him. You're too late, he added quietly. I shook my head. No, I said. I'm right on time. I turned and walked away, not because I was done, because I knew staying there wouldn't change anything. Not with him, not like this. Across the hall, I could see Ruby again, still sitting the same way, still too quiet, but now I saw something else. Not just fear, not just caution, something deeper, something that looked like she had been holding herself together for too long, and I knew I wasn't walking away from this. Not again. When I stepped back into Lily's room, Noah looked up. She's asking for you, he said softly. I moved to her side immediately. Her eyes found mine, weaker than before, but clearer. Mom, she whispered. The word landed differently this time. Not uncertain, not confused. Real. I took her hand gently. I'm here, I said. And this time, I meant more than just this moment. I meant everything that came next. Because whatever it took, whatever I had to face, whatever Ethan had planned, I was done being pushed out, done being erased, done waiting, because now I knew the truth, and I wasn't going to let him hide behind it anymore. If you were in my place, would you have forgiven him? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Because some lines, once crossed, can never be undone. Tell me what you think in the comments. And if this story shocked you, don't forget to like and follow for more real stories like this.